Welcome to part 2 in a 2-part series where I speak with Anthony, former chronic and vestibular migraine warrior, and co-founder and CEO of Head Health. If you haven't listened to part 1, you may want to listen to that one first to hear Anthony's story and how his journey led to a program that could be life-changing for so many migraine sufferers. Anthony was told by physicians, "There is nothing more we can do for you." And I know from experience that many vestibular warriors have heard this very same thing, or something very similar. He took these words as a catalyst to become a student of self and began his journey of self-discovery. The inspiration to start Head Health Co. comes from 27 years experience, 16 years as a chronic daily migraine patient, and currently 11 years free from both vestibular and chronic migraine. Since his last migraine on May 13, 2011, Anthony spent 10,000 plus hours developing the core logic for Head Health, including analysis of 2,000 peer-reviewed literature and journal articles, market data of over 5,000 migraine sufferers, thousands of one-to-one in-group coaching sessions, and the creation of 6 migraine lifestyle health programs. Anthony is also a certified health coach from the Institute of Integrated Nutrition and a founding member of the John Maxwell team. Please welcome Anthony.
Like one of the things that this kind of program does is it forces you to silence. It forces you to create silence, and it forces you to have to look within. And that is, again, wildly uncomfortable. And that's that unknown because you don't know what you're going to get. And sometimes maybe that's stuff that you've been trying to hide, right, for who knows how long. But then all of a sudden now you're confronted with it. And that was actually one of the papers that I ended up reading. I'll send you the author's name because I can't remember it for the life of me right now. But it's called MARD, M-A-R-D, and it's migraine anxiety-related dizziness. And that was the connection that all of a sudden blew it like all into perspective for me. Because when I talked about, right, the food and how those were the big triggers that then led to those symptoms, but the one that was always the ongoing one was the actual anxiousness that was always happening within me that then always prepped my nervous system to be on almost high alert. So then when I ate a certain thing or did that, it just sent it over the edge, sent it over the edge, sent it over the edge. And that's when then they started to really describe what this does with the anxiety and then the dizziness that actually happens within you. And that was like absolutely fascinating because then that leads into, right, the fight or flight, that leads and then into, right, creating those, that sense of balance, slowing down. And then if that's what you need to do, then what does that lifestyle component need to look like, right? Is it a meditation? Is it journaling? Is it, right? But once you start to see those processes and how then they need to be set in order, you don't just journal to journal. You don't just meditate to meditate. You do things now very, very strategically. And this is one of the things that, well, it's intention, but it's also strategically because I don't know if you remember this, but one of the parts that we describe within the protocol is like your strengths. And it's within the 4th module, and we try to like help you understand like what your personality is. Because, right, I took this test. It's called Strengths Finder 2.0. It's a Gallup book. It's by a guy named Tom Rath. And one of the things that I discovered is I'm a learner. Like that's my number 2. So when you brought up learning, it's like I have to do that. That's how I thrive.
Right.
But what I never knew is actually how to harness that. So all I would do is I would have this desire to constantly learn, but I never knew how to channel it. And then once you kind of understand, right, how to channel the strengths that you have or the things that make you and how you're hardwired, and you start to put that together, now your nervous system is actually going in balance with you. So now you can be doing the deep learning without a perfectionism or without getting into places that create that anxiety. Or if you do get the anxiety, now you know, okay, I'm going to do strategic, I'm going to journal, I'm going to break this down, I'm going to meditate. And once you do that, now you're starting to maintain this thing called you.
What module is that in for? I have to revisit
4.
my notes.
Yeah, 4. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We go into spiritual gifts. We go into the personality traits, Strengths Finder, Enneagram was in there. Right. Just those little things that, right, help you kind of figure it out.
Right.
Like I always say that, right, take it with a grain of salt. It's kind of like, astrology in some cases, right? But if you're able to, right, figure some of those components out and they actually resonate with you, then why not?
Yeah. Move forward in it.
When I said earlier about, like my story about how I would never be, right, a dad or, get married or do any of those things. Yeah, that's all broken down, right? Married,
Yep.
have a beautiful son, right?
Yes.
He's almost gonna be 2.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah, oh, it's crazy. It's crazy. He's a big boy, man. He's growing like crazy. It's funny. So 6 months in, I got him he loves steak. Like literally at 6 months, we were feeding him like skirt steak and stuff, right? So I was kind of funny. I really enjoyed that, right?
Yeah.
Being a man and having my little boy. So one of the things I did is he'd always like point, right? And he'd make noises. And I got him to kind of do this like caveman, like beats his chest when he wanted more steak. And he did that, yeah, for about 3 months. And I thought it was awesome. Yeah, I
That's
thought
so
it was so
cute.
great. Yeah, absolutely. But
Oh,
that's the beauty of all of this is, right? You have no idea where this journey is going to go. And if you just, I mean, you put this in the testimonial video. If you just take that first step forward and you just trust the process, things are going to happen.
yep.
And for me, like that's what I got to experience. For you, you got to say that you got to live a dream, right? You got to go on this boat that you've always wanted to do and actually live there and experience it and give that back to your child. And that's what I think it's really all about. And all that hard work or all that uncomfortableness, it's always worth it.
When we're in the deep pain of it all, I think we forget to remember our dreams and our whys. We
Oh,
totally
absolutely.
forget when that should be our fuel source. And I know your program really goes deep into that.
Day
And
one.
yeah, and
Day one.
I think so many people forget that because they're so deep and they just forget. I know I did until my friend
Mm-hmm.
left my room that one day and it was like, wow, where's my head? And that was all I focused on instead of sitting there and focusing on my symptoms and not my
Mm-hmm.
symptoms, on these symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
I took that focus off of that and looked at where I want to be. And that was huge. It takes practice. It's not something that happens overnight, but got to remember that we can live through these symptoms.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck trying to tell somebody that, right? When they're
Right.
when they're in the
It's hard.
worst of it, right? Like if you would have told me, on the flip side, if you was told me to dream or like what is my dream or did this, I would have, you know, screw you, right? I would have gotten
Right.
filled with just so much anger
Yeah.
about it, and like, oh, that could never happen because I'm always going to be this, right? Or then whatever, right, lie I then have to tell myself.
Right.
But if we then just get hit with that little nugget or that little opportunity, or okay, maybe let's maybe dream again, right? And that was the first question I asked you. Like, what question are you trying to solve? Like, what is that thing? I'm not talking about becoming migraine free because obviously that's what we're getting to. But if you had one question, what are you trying to solve right now? Like, what's that thing that you think about, right? And then the second one is okay. So then, if you did solve that, what then does your life look like? And then from there, is that actually why you're here today? Because if those three things are now aligned, then the fourth question then becomes is, okay, so let's say that you do achieve it, right? Let's say that you actually do accomplish this. What does it feel like? What does it taste like? Who are you with? What does that feel it? Like I'm actually getting goosebumps right now just telling you this because I know what mine was.
Yeah.
I could not go outside. I had to quit sports because my allergies were so bad. I had to get 4 allergy shots in each arm every single week for years. Like literally doctors call me the bubble boy, or my allergist did at least. And my why was I wanted to become healthy, to go outside and actually be a normal human being again. Then my visualization turned into, I just want to stick my face in a flower. Because if I know if I'm doing that, then that means I've healed my body enough and that maybe these migraines will go away. I'll never forget you. The day I walked into, it was called Platt Hill Nursery. It's in Bloomingdale, Illinois. I went into one of the greenhouses and I stuck my face right into a lily and nothing happened. And I was like, holy cow, I think I did it.
I think your modules work you up to the point where you're comfortable with stepping into your why. But it does,
Oh yeah, they have to.
yeah, I think the way you do it is the way the program works. It's just a natural next step. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So,
I got that from John Maxwell. He wrote a book called The 5 Levels of Leadership. And one of the things, so I'm a John Maxwell coach and I got to hear him speak at several different times. And right when I became, when I went to the Mayo Clinic, one of the books I brought with me was Put Your Dream to the Test by John Maxwell. My dream was always to become migraine free. So I was like, okay, let's see, let's try to do this. And I'll never forget this. This is how you know, like sometimes you're on the right path. Right after I became free, about a week and a half later, I get an email saying, thank you for your interest in the John Maxwell team. No, I didn't send the email. I didn't even know what they had a team. I knew nothing about
Right.
this. Then I get a call from this woman named Sarah. And I'm talking to Sarah. Sarah's best friend died from an adverse reaction to a migraine medication. So I'm like, okay. So I mean, I signed up immediately. I went to my parents. I was like, hey, I need that credit card. Like we need to make this work. Then I get down there and I'm one of the first, I think, 1,000 members of it. I'm a founding member. And I get there. I'm in Orlando, most Palm Beach at the time. I'm there by myself. And all of a sudden, John's walking down. He's going walk into the conference room, and he literally beelines right to me, shakes my hand, and goes, I know that there's a reason why you're here today, and I'm curious to find out what it is. And I was like, okay, like this is like, okay. And I just feel those synchronicities happen, right? That just continuously happen. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because of what you said. They do build up, but you have to start at one point. That point just may seem completely unrealistic. It may seem like it's completely unattainable, but just take that first step and then see what that next step is and see what the next step is. And of course, each step along the way is going to create challenges. But what John talked about in the 5 levels of leadership is when you go through that first level and now you get to the next, you bring everything with you. So this first one may be just about mindset. Okay, now let's take this with you. Let's figure this out. And let's now bring it into the migraine characteristics. Let's bring it into the health conditions. Let's bring it into the genetics or the cellular, the toxins. Let's bring it into your organ systems. Let's bring it into your nutrition. Let's bring it into your food. Let's bring it into your lifestyle. But all this is done to then get you to a point to achieve small victories. And if you get enough yeses along the way, nothing will be able to stop you. You will be able to go like a freight train through a brick wall. It can't stop you. It's impossible. I believe that with every fiber of my being.
The synchronicities and those God winks along the way, you have to learn to trust those and believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last few years, I look for signs, and and it's almost kind of crazy. And I mean, triple numbers, when you look at a clock, or
oh yeah.
I just think that when you're aligned with on the right path, those God winks and those synchronicities drop in more often. And yeah, so awesome. I love it. I love the healing process and all of that good stuff. And for you, because I just saw a couple people that I connected with in the group, to watch that unfold for all of us,
mm-hmm.
how empowering that must be. And now this is taking you to a completely different level.
Yeah, I didn't expect any of this to happen. After the one of the biggest reasons too why we had to go kind of silent on social was the biggest cliffhanger that we experienced was, so now what happens if you need to go see a medical professional?
Right.
What happens then? Because if you need to go see somebody and now there's a contradiction, or then something happens, or maybe the doctor tells you to do something else and you're not sure. Now what do we actually do? And I know that the Migraine World Summit is coming up. And this is, one of the big examples that we had is in our second cohort that we did, we had 10 individuals. They were all referrals. And 8 of the 10 watched the Migraine World Summit. All 8 got migraines during the Migraine World Summit. So then what I had to do as the coach in going through this was to actually walk them through the information, walk them through the overload, walk them through what some of these things may actually be, help them, discern, decipher, come to terms with whatever it may be, and then, start to create that balance again. And that's where I think so much of this happens, is because if we go do a Google search, we can get a contradiction. If we go to a doctor, we can get a contradiction. If we go into you and I both have a mutual contact who wanted to go post in our social group and ended up finding a post from somebody that kind of related to her situation and ended up kind of taking that path and tried experimenting with that, and it made her migraines substantially worse. So it was like, okay, now if there are going to be those contradictions, now we need to create a system and a process and a structure that helps somebody walk it through. So that's why it took us quite a while to set up all of this technology, because you have to have that connection. You have to have something there for you if those contradictions do happen. Because if you don't have, right, a care team and process, if you don't have access, right, to the right doctors or the right care team or the right information, that's like the easiest way to start getting a whirlwind. That's the easiest way to actually start getting migraine symptoms, vestibular symptoms. And then where do we go from here? That's why I say so much of it is like a psychological warfare in a lot of ways.
It's crazy how our bodies are so sensitive to things like that. I mean, just the stress levels. We talked about in the past, stress being positive stress and negative stress bringing on migraine symptoms and things like that. You're just constantly learning.
Yeah. So this is another study that I hope that we can do either this year or 100% next. But one of the things that we realized was almost 95% of all participants who went through were categorized as highly sensitive people. So in the book, The Highly Sensitive Person, they said 20% of the world's population is highly sensitive. So I want to know how many migraine individuals, how many individuals with chronic illness, how many individuals who fit into this category simultaneously have and are a highly sensitive person.
Now, when you say highly sensitive people, do you mean like empaths type?
No. So there was a Dr. Elaine Aron wrote a book called The Highly Sensitive Person. It was essentially how our nervous system works.
Okay.
To where so she did a questionnaire, and one of the questions within there is like, what's your reaction to violent movies? Right. So it's like, what's your reaction to stimuli? What's your reaction to caffeine? What's your reaction to loud noises? What's your reaction to arguments or things? Like, how do these stressors and how do these stimuli end up basically just hijacking your nervous system? Because if that is true for, let's say, 20% to 50% of migraine patients, well, then all you have to do is actually just create structure. And if you create structure that now keeps your nervous system stimuli at bay, well, then you might have literally just solved it. And right, there's books, there's opportunities out there that give you like a step-by-step plan. That's fascinating stuff when you start to put those pieces together and how it all works. But again, I think it was the University of Zurich had a quote that said, our brains are as unique as a thumbprint. So we have a science community and a medical community that knows almost nothing about the way that our brain works in the grand scheme of things, right? For what we know about other ailments, right? You break a bone, there's a clear process on that.
Right.
You have anything neurological, spin a wheel, figure it out. Like, good luck.
So are you a believer in neuroplasticity?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. It's one of the first talks that we give within the program now. Yeah, absolutely. What's your take on it?
Oh, no, I'm a firm believer. I really believe with constant with it. If we continue making it a habit, I think anything's possible. The same goes for the negative thoughts though. So just have to be aware of what we're putting in there. But I believe neuroplasticity is huge, and it's just trust in the process, pretty much, and just doing it over and over and over.
Well, that's right. I also think it becomes fascinating too, right? With the exercises or, the interactions that you're going to have, because as a whole, of course, right, neuroplasticity is going to happen. You're going to change your neurons, you're going to change your default responses, right? All of these things. But if you don't have that structure, or if you're not understanding, right, let's say the cognitive distortions, or if you're automatic, right, whether they call it ANTs, automatic negative thoughts. So if that's right, your go-to, things are going to happen in order to create that plasticity within your brain to now all of a sudden tell your neurons to say, hey man, you're going to say something positive instead of something negative. Like, you're going to see the glass half full instead of half empty. Right? Like that, again, that all takes that work, that takes training, that takes these things. But for everybody listening, it's possible. It's just, are you going to go into it with an open mind, like you've always said? And B, are you going to go into it with this like creative energy or this creative essence that for actually once, like, you are in control of this entire journey? Like, you're in the driver's seat, and that's the coolest place to be ever.
Yeah, I think that's a hard one for people to understand, just because of the society that we were raised in, that I think that things didn't start happening in my life and changing until I took total responsibility. But another thing, you can't tell them right away when they're in the deep.
Oh gosh, no.
Like,
No,
yeah,
no,
unfollow.
no. And that's,
Yep. It's
so
hard.
I'll have a book coming out towards the end of the year, and it's called The 25 Laws of Migraine Freedom. And we actually go into, right,
There's
like
so much going on. I can't keep up.
fun. It's fun. That's a lot of fun. So that's why I had to go. That's why I had to go
Yes.
rogue. I had to go rogue.
Great.
Yeah, just yeah, go in the go lock the door, get away from everything, and yeah, just start pumping out stuff. So yeah, we'll have 3 books coming out, the app, the coaching program, and all that will be this year.
Oh, awesome. What's the name of that's hitting on the 23rd that you'll be
Oh
opening?
yeah. Yeah. So best place that you can go to sign up, it's headhealth.io. And it's going to be called the Ment app.
Ment app. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you're only taking a select number of
Yeah.
individuals first off. How long do you think the initial program will be before you're taking more people in? Or is that just
Oh,
uncertain?
like 2 months.
2 months,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. We just want to make sure, right, all the bells,
Within,
whistles, all the kinks, everything like that is taken through, and then we'll open it up. So we're taking up to 1,000 right now in the beginning. And then then we're opening it up globally right after that. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We've created partnerships with labs. We've got health coaches. Yeah. So all that now is simultaneously done with technology that can hold your hand. So it's like, yeah, how do we duplicate myself, and how do we create an experience better than the one that you had? That was really the question that we're trying to solve.
That's so exciting, Andy.
Yeah,
I'm
it
so
is
happy
crazy, right?
to be able to watch it from the beginning and where it's unfolding.
Let me
So
tell
cool.
you, when I started this journey, for everybody out there, like, man, I was a nightclub DJ. I owned record labels. Like that's what I did, right? So to think that all of a sudden I'd become, right, this migraine person, right? This person's writing books. Like I'm gonna have a journal article out soon that's gonna be published. I'm giving the talk in Puerto Rico about the pilot program. Like I never would have seen any of this happening. Never. I could have never imagined any of this. And that's why that's why I think is so fascinating about the journey, is you really don't know where it's going to take you. But if you start to understand like what your passions are, what your strengths are, and if you start to become aligned with that, like, nothing can stop you. Like there's a force within the world that if we tap into it, like I just think amazing things are going to happen. But it requires a whole bunch of uncomfortableness, hard work, and yeah, basically you facing all the stuff. And sometimes, like yesterday, it was my wife's and my dad's birthday, and everybody had cake, and I didn't have no cake. I really wanted the cake, but I didn't have no cake. So
Oh,
sometimes, you just gotta
yeah.
roll with it.
Oh, well, glad to hear your father's still around and doing well then.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's doing good.
Well, I have the headhealth.io. I'll put all that information in the
Thank
notes.
you.
Is there anywhere else that we can follow you online?
Yeah, so socials are Head Health Co.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's on across Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect. Before we leave, I want to do a little quick whirlwind
absolutely.
questions.
Let's do it.
Let's see. Okay. In in one word, what has living with a vestibular disorder taught you?
Patience.
Like my answer to
Oh, was it
lots
really?
of patience. Yes,
Oh
lots
yeah,
of
yeah.
patience.
Patience.
Fill in the blank. Vestibular disorders are.
Nerve-wracking.
They are that. Now I know you've been symptom free for a while, so this
Yeah.
question may not even apply. I guess we could rephrase it to if you're talking to someone and their symptoms are coming on, what's one of the first things that you would recommend them doing?
Take a deep breath. And how do you love yourself?
It's not
I
always
think that
easy.
applies to anything. Or what is one way that you can find, like, smile, right? Or write something positive.
What's one thing people usually get wrong about you?
Wow, that's a really good question. Since I've been away from socials for quite a while, I have to look within the people that are around me. That I'm really intense, because I just have a lot of stuff going on all the time. I'm very high energy and go, go,
Yeah.
go. I'm a type A. Yeah. So they always think that I'm going, but man, do I love to relax.
What's your favorite migraine friendly meal?
Oh, these are really good. Again, yeah, this is a loaded question because, right, it applies to everybody. But recently I have been getting into homemade skirt steak tacos.
Made skirt steak tacos. Wow.
Yeah, so I do a tomatillo mojo salsa, and I do the almond flour tortillas.
You have mojo in Chicago?
Kidding me? Kidding me? Oh, not a chance. Not a chance. Not a chance. I go to the Fiesta Market. I get some
Okay.
tomatillos, some limes, some oranges.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Oh yeah. No, I
That's
love making
awesome.
friends with the people at the grocery store. It's awesome. Yeah, I see this one guy, Raul, and he always tells me that the good tomatillos are in. And sometimes I go on Saturdays and they'll actually have some there for me. It's really nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is one book that has inspired you most in life? No, that's hard.
Yeah. So right, besides the Bible and the one that I already said, right, the put your dream to the test. Um 10 Laws of Success by Herbert Harris.
Good though. Do you, Anthony, have a morning or bedtime self-care routine?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what does that look like?
Yeah. So in the morning, the first thing I do, I it's kind of like the Wim Hof breathing style, right? Take a bunch of deep breaths right in the morning, before I even leave my bed. Um, I have a notebook right there and I write, um, it's about one page, just get everything off of my head. Then I kind of have a little gratitude part of what I'm going to look forward to for today. Then I get up and I go downstairs and I make myself this electrolyte water. And then, yeah, then I start the day. Evening routine, I have to be completely decompressed. I have to make sure that, right, I got my stuff laid out and I'm in a very calm state, because if any of that stuff carries over, I'm a disaster. I will sleep terrible. Yeah, and it's my morning routine is completely off. So yeah, just making sure that I'm in a very relaxed state is my evening routine, and that can vary.
Well, that leads to the next question. What activity completely relaxes you?
Sitting down and breathing is a big one, but nature is the biggest.
Hmm.
Nature walks with my wife Natalie and my son Gio are the biggest things that really relax me right now.
Do you find
And
that
thank God
you
it's getting nicer. What's up?
do you find that that he keeps you in present? I love that about my daughter because if I'm ever not paying attention, she pulls me right back into the present.
Yeah, but then it's also too, then I look at him and I'm just like, then that intenseness kind of comes out and it's like, I can't wait to give you the life, right? And then I'll go off in those words. So I got to make sure that I balance that out, because yeah, that's where the intenseness can come in.
That's true.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but no, just watching him, all the cliches and everything, right, are so true about kids until you have them.
It's true.
Mhm.
It is. What movie could you watch over and over and never tire of?
Forrest Gump,
Forrest Gump, really? I love that
favorite
movie.
movie of all time. Love Forrest.
What is your, well, you don't see, this one doesn't apply to you. What's your most used tool in your vestibular toolbox? So you don't usually use, you don't have any
No, but
symptoms anymore. So.
but that's where there could be a misconception, because if I let any of this stuff go, I will get symptoms, right?
Yeah, that's
So
true.
now it's a major maintenance journey for me. And the biggest thing, truthfully, is food. It is food in my calendar. Those are the two biggest things, because if those ever start to slip and I do not give myself enough time, I will then be rushed. I will then create that anxiety that will then start to, right, get everything triggered up. And then if I do not have that balance, then I will actually start to want to eat foods that make me, right, happy. And then I'm very likely to then actually start to get that. And believe it or not, that happened to me about a week ago, were the exact same thing. And it was getting to the point where I started feeling my balance off. And I was starting to get like dizzy spells again.
Yeah, we get reminded very quickly.
Sure do. Sure do.
Have to reel that back in.
Absolutely.
So, what are you extremely grateful for today?
So the biggest thing that I'm really grateful for right now is the opportunity to finally share what's been going on. That's the biggest, because right, for the last 11 years, no one's really known any of this or any of me. It's been very quiet and or secluded, because it's needed to be. So that's the biggest thing I'm grateful for, is now the opportunity to now come out and really share this message with the world.
So exciting. I know there was one point I reached out to a couple of my other classmates and I'm like, do you know what happened to Anthony? I can't find him anywhere. He's like a ghost.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, he's just deep in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, that's good to know. Or he's enjoying his new young family. So
yeah, no. I was deep in it. And then the enjoyment, and then deep in it, and then the enjoyment. So
yeah,
yeah,
back and forth.
Balance. Absolutely. But no, I'd scroll a little bit. I'd see. I was keeping tabs. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so happy we connected today, and I know that we could talk for hours on all kinds of stuff. So you'll have to come back for sure, especially after the program's launched and all that good stuff.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, honestly, it's been very exciting watching your transformation from the first day that you and I spoke. Phil with all that
I was a different person back then.
Oh, that was awesome. That was so awesome. You really think that this is going to work, man? You got so much attitude. Oh, it was hysterical.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm like, I don't know.
I was like, I don't know, Heather. Do you want it to work? Like, I don't know. And like, well, what do I have to lose? And I was like, I exactly. So are we going to do this or not? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And then it was like that third call in where all of a sudden you started connecting like some serious dots. And then to watch that moment on for the next 6 months, and then that next year, and then where you are today. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. And actually just seeing your face and seeing your smile, like how you said earlier, like the colors.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's been the coolest part of all of it.
Well, I'm going to thank you guys, because with the program that you developed, I have such a deeper understanding of myself, and it was truly transformative is the best word for it. And I think it's a gift what you're giving to everybody out there that grabs onto it and takes the ride. It's worth it.
Thank you. I have a question, because you have a healthcare background. I've been a firm believer that if we solve for migraine, we can solve for healthcare, because it does. It's the whole body, right? It's literally the whole body. It's every siloed system. It's the way insurance works. Like it's literally all of it.
Believe you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I hope one day.
Hope so too. Awesome. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. So an absolute pleasure. Have yourself a wonderful day.
I know there was a lot to take with Anthony and head health. It is so worth looking into. It was truly transformative for me, and I am thankful for it every single day. So thank you, Anthony, for sharing your story and about this amazing gift to the migraine community. If you had a takeaway or something that resonated with you, please reach out to us on social media. If you haven't left a review yet, let us know what you think, what you like about the podcast, and constructive feedback is always welcome also. I love hearing from you and knowing what is resonating with you in the community. Thank you for listening. If you would like to reach out to Anthony or myself, please see the show notes for all the ways to do so. For more information on vestibular disorders, please visit the VITO website at www.vestibular.org. Remember, to love yourself, be open to the work, lean on this beautiful community, and lastly, believe that healing is possible. I'll see you next week, warriors.